The No Nonsense Roundtable. It's a weekly show broadcast on Rochester, New York's 50,000-watt iHeart radio station, News Radio Wham 1180. The host, Dom Geneva, interviews guests from all walks of life, all with amazing stories to tell. What you are about to hear is a recording of a previous broadcast with limited commercials. Now, here's host, Dom Geneva.
Well, welcome everybody to another edition of your No Nonsense Roundtable. I'm Dom Geneva, your host every Saturday right here on News Radio Wham 1180. And I have a special show for you today because I don't think I've told anybody yet, or not very many people, but I'm writing a book. After working for the factory Chrysler for 17 years and owning the dealership in Avon, your no-nonsense car dealer, Genesee Valley Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Genesee Valley Ford, I decided to write a book about, well, how to buy a car. And I guess the working title on it right now is Taken for a Ride. It should be, we should be able to go to print before the end of the year. And I know things that you need to know. I'm setting up my guest today for that. I'm setting up because I can tell you everything about, buying a car and rebates and things you got to look out for and all these other things, and I'm very good at that. And when it comes to service, I know how to treat people well, but I don't know anything about service at all. And I had a gentleman, a lot of people are going to recognize the name, working for me, working more with me than for me, I would say. And his name is Jerry Kramer. And Jerry Kramer was my service director when we had the dealerships. We sold the dealerships on March 5th of 2020, which was like 10 days before the COVID shutdown. So that was kind of cool. But Jerry's in Florida right now. He's one of these guys who retired and went someplace where it very little lake effect snow there, and I'm going to interview him today about service, and this is going to be a lot of the stuff is going to go into the book, and Jerry, when we were working together, became I would say, Jerry, you became like an older brother to me. I mean, tell people what our day was like there with you and me.
Well, it was really good, actually. I spent most of my time in the morning at the Ford store, and then about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I went to the Chrysler store and we looked at some things. And by about 3 o'clock, I got to interview Dom in his office pretty much every day.
He's being very kind. He's very, very kind. We would have like psychological sessions where he would allay as much of my anxiety as he could, and he always did a very good job with that. That's why I said that you were like my older brother. But let's talk about a little bit of background with you. That stupid question I like to ask people: what did you want to do when you were 10 years old? What did you want to do when you were 10 years old? And I don't think I've ever asked you that question.
It was always cars, Dom. Being a young guy at 10 or 12 years old, my dad worked on his own cars and stuff. And throughout life, that's what it's been. I started a dealership. I started in the car business in the early 70s. And it went right through till, I retired from Genesee Valley Ford and Genesee Valley Chrysler, 3 or 4 years ago. So, yeah, it's always been cars.
Well, and back in the day, I think younger people don't understand this, but we older people do. A car was more than just a commodity. It was something that you wore. It was something that said something about you. One of the things I say is that communication required transportation. It's not like now where you can talk to your buddies across the world just on this piece of toast that you hold to your ear. And when you showed up with a car, it was kind of cool. My first car was not a very fancy car. It was an old car that my dad gave me, but to me it was freedom.
That's true. It is freedom. And my first car was the 1953 Chevy that my father went with me to buy, and on the way home, the steering wheel came off in his hand, and it was quite. I paid a whopping $35, and in the late 50s, early 60s, $35 to me was the whole pile. So yeah, that's how it all started.
Well, the funny thing is that people don't understand these days that there was a time where just having the car not stall was a big deal. I mean, when I was working for Chrysler back in the early, it actually was the more like late 70s. I mean, we were selling cars that literally were stalling in the middle of intersections and recalls and whatnot. I mean, the quality of the cars has gotten a lot better, but the buying process has pretty much stayed the same. And this book that I'm writing, like I said, I have a wealth of knowledge to share with people about the buying process and what to be aware of, and what actually in the book there's a dealer to English dictionary. So when a dealer says this, it means that. But let's talk about service. That's where I'm going to impose upon you for this, because now you started in the business when as what?
I started in as a technician. It was always the repair end of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that until about 1980, 79 or 80. And then I turned into a shop foreman for a couple of years. And then I went into service management. As you well know, I worked for a very reputable dealer in Rochester. I was very fortunate. He did business a lot like you did, or we did, that, we made sure it was right, and the customer was always right. And it kind of went down from there.
Well, you can say his name.
It was Vanderstein Ford.
Yeah. I mean, a class organization, actually a class organization. But so let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about not so much repairing a car right now, but talk about the culture of dealerships, because it makes a big difference where you buy the car from. I mean, I like to say this too. I mean, it's not like a television where you buy a television, if it breaks, you throw it out. I mean, it's not like the old days where they would replace tubes and whatever. When you buy a car from a dealer, especially a used car, there are a lot of variables there. So, I mean, what advice would you give people to judge a dealership's reputation, what they should look for? When somebody says this, think about that. I mean, let's talk about just the general, 30,000 foot view of this, Jerry.
Yeah, you really have to buy from the dealer prior to worrying about the service end of it. I mean, I've seen over the years, cars that came from some places that weren't very reputable. The dealership and some of the people there knew there was issues. And unfortunately, at the end, the customer pays the price. And I'm here to tell you that, and as you well know, I spoke my word to you for years, that, you got to do the right thing. And going back, I heard so many times in my life where the customer would say, well, I took it back there 5 times, and he said, well, he may have said, but he never did. And that's a big deal. Working for Jerry Vanderstein was an award for me, because he was that guy. His words to me were, make it right. Mm-hmm. Do what's right, Jerry. Do what's right. You know what? It's going to cost some money. Do what's right. And actually, I had the same deal with you. You never questioned about whether I did it or didn't do it, but it was always right. You said, make it right. Take care of the customer.
Well, we only have about a minute left in this section, but this brings me to something that you and I developed as a philosophy, and is that sometimes things aren't our fault, but they're our responsibility. And I think when you buy a car from the manufacturer tries to make a perfect car. None of them are perfect. Okay. But what happens when you have a problem with that at the dealerships is the dealership just kind of fluff it off and go, oh, that's GM's fault or whatever. We can't do anything about that. Or do they own the problem? And that's the thing about you. I always saw you own the problem with the customer. You're fixing the customer more than the car.
It's really true. I mean, it's you got to take care of the customer. All the customer knows for sure is he spent an awful lot of his hard-earned money buying something that's not right. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you had to own the customer rather than own the repair, because it's you needed to help him out. And we did that a great deal of times, and not just Genesee Valley Ford, but like I say again, Vanderstein Ford. He had that way of doing business.
And talk about doing business. We are going into a commercial break, Jerry. We'll see everybody right after that. This is Dom Genova from my friends at Jack Greco Furniture. Like I like to say, you buy a car every couple of years, you probably take your money and put it into furniture for, well, decades. Now, go someplace where they treat you right and they have good stuff. Not like these big box stores. Go to Jack Greco. And this is the end of the year. They have closeout savings on their outdoor furniture. Hey, the winter's not going to last forever. It's going to seem that way, but it's not going to last forever. Go see Jack Greco. Well, welcome everybody. We're talking with my friend, somebody I consider to be one of my older brothers. I have one other fellow here in Rochester, Chuck Percato, and he's my local older brother, I think, and you're my original older brother, although we have no DNA in common, I think. But Jerry was my service director for a very, very long time, and helped us, was a great part of us winning a Rochester Area Business Ethics Award. I mean, the first time they ever gave it to a car dealer. As a matter of fact, when they called up, I was like, you do understand we're Genesee Valley Motors. We don't make motors, right? Yes, we know you're a car dealer. And that was quite an honor. We were a Torch Award winner. We based our philosophy on taking care of the customer, and we have plenty of stories about that stuff. But the question I want to ask Jerry, so you are going, and let's say we're thinking about purchasing a car. Now, a lot of people, in my experience, they shop the price of the car or the style of the car, and then when it gets down to, there's warranties, there's extended warranties, there's service contracts, and all of this stuff, customers, generally speaking, don't shop all that well. And let's give them a little education about that.
Well, the warranty on the car is the dealer will tell you is a warranty on the car. And I heard it for a lot of time. You hear the customer tell you that, well, the dealer said it's out of warranty and there's nothing they can do. That's not really true. So many times the Ford Motor Company was a real advocate of it. They gave us carte blanche and some of the things that we needed to do. Being in the business, you see the things that go wrong. And if you've seen it a half a dozen times, you know it's really an issue. And 9 times out of 10, if you talk to the dealer or if you ask to speak to a Ford rep or whoever the rep is for the car manufacturer, somebody there should help you. I mean, you can't just say, well, it's got 20,000 miles and it's out of warranty, because that's not true. I mean, the problem existed since day one.
I think a lot of people don't understand how a warranty works. They think that a dealer just has this chunk of money that he can hand out any way he wants. Oh,
not hardly. As you well know, that Ford Motor Company audits the warranty on a regular basis. They take a look at how you're spending their money, and it's not a deal where you can just give it away. I mean, you have to it all boils down to doing the right thing.
Well, and one of the things about it too is that the manufacturers, first of all, there are some dealers who try to take advantage of the manufacturer and they phony up warranty repairs. That's out and out thievery. But there are some dealers that are not very competent, and they'll put in for a warranty repair, and they don't fix the car properly, and they don't get reimbursed for it. I mean, they don't care if you're stealing from them or you're just dumb. They don't pay you, and that chargeback can be hundreds of thousands of dollars sometimes. I remember we had a customer once who said that we weren't responsive to him, and this and that and the other thing, and he didn't get his oil changed in 3 years. He said, well, they should have covered this under warranty. No, you didn't get your oil changed in 3 years. People need to know what their responsibility is too. Now let's talk about a warranty versus a service contract. Now warranties usually go I'll tell everybody, you got a 3-year, 36,000 mile bumper to bumper warranty. It means it handles everything that isn't a wear item. So let's say you have a rubber hose. The rubber hose, that's not a wear item, so that would be replaced. Your wiper blades and your tires, those are wear items. So that wouldn't be replaced. What is your opinion of extended warranties? Because you can get a warranty when you buy the car, but also there's a lot of different extended warranties. So give us your opinion of extended warranties.
I think I think it's a great idea for one, and the best warranty is with the manufacturer.
Mm-hmm.
You got to hope that the guy on the outside on the end of the phone, there's a dozen different warranty companies that sell warranty. It's not cheap. They tell you how many things are going to cover. Oh, but that's the screw that held on the bolt, that held on the alternator, so it's not covered. So, but the manufacturer wouldn't do that. I mean, their warranties are written to take care of the customer.
Yeah, I agree with you. There are a couple of good extended warranty companies out there, but I would get extended warranties on the cars that we bought for the kids. The manufacturers, it's in their computer base. It's good all over the country. Their reputation is manufacturer's reputation is riding on that, and believe it or not, there's some pretty big scams with warranties. Now, when I was working for Chrysler in the Carolinas, there was a dealer that we had who set up his own warranty company in the Cayman Islands of all places, and whoever bought a service contract from him or a warranty from him had to get their vehicle serviced at one of his dealerships and only at one of his dealerships, right? So times get a little bit bad. I forget what year it was, 1980, 1986 or whatever. The guy goes out of business. Now what? You just paid all this money for this extended warranty or, the service contract or whatever, and it's worth nothing. So, I mean, that's, it's sort of like, I don't know, maybe it's sort of like Bitcoin versus, treasury bonds or something like that. You got to be careful with that. So, Jerry,
I agree.
The other thing about pricing, I'd like you to mention about, pricing of these things too. When you go to a dealer, a customer generally just shops the price of the vehicle. And there's a great variance in price in warranties and service contracts. And let's talk about some of the things that you should be looking for when you're buying a service contract or a warranty.
Some of the biggest things are, and there's different categories that you can buy. Some are, you can get a warranty now with all the repairs and maintenance, just general repairs, and then you can get one that covers powertrain, which is engine, transmission, differentials. There's just a bunch of them that you can have, and I would be really fearful of where you got the warranty from. Mm-hmm. The guy that sold the warranty on the outside, he can say, "Yeah, we're going to put a motor in there for you, and we're going to get it from Jerry's junkyard," and it ran when it went in there. So that the manufacturer uses new or remanufactured by the manufacturer.
Well, and the other thing I think people need to understand about warranties is that when a salesperson is quoting you your payment, there are times, you have to remember, listen to this, everybody, there are times where they pack in the warranty. So, Mr. Customer, your payment is $495.67, and that includes the blah, 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 warranty. And a lot of people don't catch that. It's called packing the payment, and again, it could be something. It could be something that is legitimate with the manufacturer. It could be a fairly decent warranty or not a warranty, but they are adding it into your deal when they present the deal to you, and it's only when you resist that they take it out. Now, again, we have about another minute to go on this, but one of the things that I want to tell people too. I had a salesperson years and years ago when we were at that little dealership where we had like 8 people, and he was particularly good at selling warranties. And one of the things he said is that when you have an extended warranty, you're budgeting your major car repairs. And I always thought that was a really good way of looking at it, Jerry. So in other words, if you said, well, you have a $400 a month car payment, and what I can do for you is that for another $20 a month, it could be $420 a month. You're not going to, and your transmission goes, 2 years from now, you're not going to have a $400 car payment and a $3,000 transmission to pay for. So your budget, he says, you're budgeting your catastrophic car repairs, which gives you a little bit of peace of mind, because if you have trouble paying the $400, you're going to have the trouble paying the $400 plus the money for the engine or transmission repair. I thought it was a good way of looking at it.
That's really a good way of looking at it. Absolutely.
Yeah, and we're going to have a good look at the world right now because we're heading into a news break.
This is Don from my friend Jim Shelley and his Fanatics Pub and Blues Stage in Lima. We talk all the time about the great blues shows he has, and his patios open on weekends for free entertainment. Jim also has the Bills game on every Sunday. You can go there and watch the Bills in a setting that's more like, well, Cheers than a big impersonal sports bar. Exit 10, Route 390, go east a couple of miles and you're there. I'll be there. Come say hello.
Well, welcome back, everybody. We're talking with a good friend of mine. I would say, Jerry Kramer never really worked for me. He was my colleague and my confidant, and he was my father confessor, I guess, at Genesee Valley, knowing so much more about the service end of the business than I ever could. I mean, I didn't know the difference between a caliber and a caliper. I mean, geez. But Jerry got us through that, and like I said, Torch Award winner and. Rochester Area Business Ethics Foundation winner. We always in the top scores for whatever it was, and thanks to you, Jerry. But we're putting a lot of information together now for this book that I'm writing about the car business. The working title is "Taken for a Ride." What you expected and what you got when you're buying a car. So we're kind of getting Jerry's advice here about the service side of the business. Now, there is, let's mention some of the things that are reasonable with service and maintenance, and some things that are, if you know of like scams, you can talk about. So let me talk about the reason things. Now, one of the things that some dealers do is that they'll give you, free tires for life or free oil changes or whatever. But then they'll give you a maintenance schedule where you have to pay more for your service, or you have to get more frequent service than the manufacturer recommends. So let's talk about something like oil changes. A lot of people say that their cars last a long time because they change the oil every 3,000 miles. And some people say, just whatever the manufacturer's recommendation is. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think it's very true. The dealer that most of the dealers, we have to acknowledge the fact that there are always dealers just like you out there that are very reputable, but some dealers would say, we'll give you a free oil and filter change when you come in, when you follow the maintenance schedule. Well, a maintenance schedule now has to have the tires rotated another $30, and then you got to have the coolant flushed, and that's another blah, blah, blah. And it goes on from there. Yeah, that's how it's done.
Yeah, it's like a Christmas club. I mean, they're going to give you a maintenance schedule. The maintenance schedule is more aggressive than you need. And that's how they're paying to give you whatever it is, in the long run. Now, yeah, go ahead.
It's not the maintenance schedule of the manufacturer. It's
right.
The maintenance schedule that the dealer had written up.
Right. And one of the things that, people, I don't know, maybe it's just something that is something that I noticed may be true, may not be true. I think those people that get their oil changed every 3,000 miles, I don't think it's changing the oil every 3,000 miles that actually makes the car last longer. I think the frequent visit to the dealership makes you mention something that's going wrong before it becomes a big problem. Hey, Joe, I'm here and, change my oil. But, in the meantime, there's a little bit of a noise in the back of my car. And it gets looked at sooner because you're there longer, or more frequently. And I think those stories that we have of people that have cars that last, 200,000 miles and whatever, I think that's it. They pay attention to the service. It's like your body. I mean, Mickey Mantle said, if I knew I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself.
How true. Absolutely.
So
It's interesting for me because now that I retired and I live in Florida, I have to take my car to the dealer for the maintenance and stuff that it gets done on it. And I can tell you that I'm on my third car since I've been here, and the dealer that I'm dealing with now is very reputable. But the one dealer that I bought the last car from wasn't. I would go in there and they would tell me, well, the brakes are getting pretty close. The car's got 11,000 miles on it.
oh yeah.
How close can they be? So, I mean, things like that. And that's stuff that we just didn't do. And most reputable dealers won't.
Well, and that's the thing, because you don't, it's like I say, I don't know. I don't know. So you have to be able to ask the questions that maybe you haven't thought of before, and be prepared. The whole thing with service, though, is there? I mean, what do you think about reviews? I'll give you my opinion after you tell me your opinion of reviews. There's Google reviews, there's Yelp reviews, there's this, there's that, the Edmunds and stuff. What's your opinion of those things?
I think some of them are reputable, and I think some of them are just nonsense. I mean, I've seen it over the years, and even those people we tried to take care of. Somebody comes in with 90,000 miles on it, had the oil changed 3 times, and, we got something bad. And the manufacturer backs away because we can't prove it. And, with the oil change frequencies war, and you get a bad mark. Is that really your fault?
No, and the spin I would give on this too is that there are some sites, I don't want to name which ones they are because I really don't like lawsuits. Some of them, yeah, we'll put your good reviews on top if you pay us. There's one in particular that has recommended reviews and not recommended reviews. And it really would tick me off when it says, well, it's not a recommended review. Well, why? Because they haven't done any reviews on anything else, just on you and the car dealer. They had to put in reviews for, like hamburger places for that review to be visible to people. And I thought that was very, very unfair. One of the things that, and I will mention this because this is absolutely the case. The Better Business Bureau reviews are based upon people responding to the Better Business Bureau, and you can get an accreditation. You can get an accreditation from the Better Business Bureau with the Better Business Bureau never visiting your place of business, and it has to do with more of a lack of complaints than a positive response from the public. The ones I trust the most are Google reviews. But the problem with Google reviews is that sometimes you get these people in there that are just trolls. And the recommendation I would give for that is, read between the lines. If somebody is giving a review and it sounds like it could be for anybody because there's no specifics in there, I'd be very skeptical about that.
Yeah, the manufacturers also send out a survey after the repair has been done, and that is probably more accurate than anything I've ever dealt with. I mean, it's going to sound crazy, but you and I used to pick those apart at 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning so we could handle them that day if we did have one. And I think that's a big deal.
Well, and our people were never trained to beg for surveys. I mean, and you get that. Oh, Mr. Customer, when you get the survey, make sure you give me a 5, because my, I have a baby to feed and my, stop that, stop that. The word of mouth is not word of mouth as much anymore as word of internet. So with that, we're about ready to head into another break, and we're going to come out of there. We have to come up with some good scam stories in there somewhere, Jerry. I mean, all the stuff that we've been through. But let's continue this, right after this.
This is Dom Genova for my friends at Martin Icing Dry Cleaning in Fairport. Well, it's that time again. You're starting to wear long sleeve shirts. You got to schlep them to the dry cleaner and schlep them.
Well, no, you don't. No, you don't. You do what I do. You call Martinizing Dry Cleaning in Fairport. They pick them up and they drop them off, and they do a great job. Their Google rating is 4.9 out of 5. You can, oh my God, it's amazing. Their number is 425-4242. 425-4242. I use them. You should use them. Well, welcome back. We're talking to Jerry. I was said Jerry Vanderstein. You had me talking about Jerry Vanderstein all this time. It's Jerry Kramer, my former service director when I had Genesee Valley Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Genesee Valley Ford. An outstanding individual who his philosophy of life and taking care of customers was, well, to take care of customers. Boy, we had all the police departments and the municipalities and everything. They just loved you. Man, you took care of those guys.
Well, I was fortunate because I got to work with a gentleman named Chuck Dreyer from Ford Motor Company. And we kind of worked together, and there was some blue ribbon committee that he was on for police car safety and stuff. So, yeah, that all worked out pretty well.
Well, and one of the things, I mean, this isn't telling you tales out of school. I mean, we have these retired guys with, not a lot to do, and then we go run for cars, and you would have them go and pick up the police cruiser, wherever it was, whatever town it was, and drive it down, and then drive it back. So the police department didn't have to send two guys and whatever. And the police department loved it because they're saving time. And these retired guys are driving up and down Route 390 and just having a ball. So, talk about a win-win. That was great. That was great. I remember some of those times. It was good times. But let's get back onto the service thing. So let's educate people a little bit about when you do have a problem with the car. Let's talk about warranty. Is stated in your book. You get the book and you have the responsibility of you have the reputation and the good faith of the manufacturer backing that warranty. Now, when you buy a used car, you get, in the state of New York, you get a used car warranty, and the person that fulfills that is the dealer himself. So the dealer himself has got, if there's a problem with the car, he's got to fix whatever it is in the car. But let's talk a little bit about what's included in the used car lemon law and what's not.
Used car lemon law is, mostly powertrain kind of issues, engine, transmission, differential, stuff like that. I've seen people that purchased cars from a used car dealer, and they would come in because they had it back 3 times and the radio still don't work and it's got static in it. And, he wants the information for the New York State lemon law, and it doesn't work that way. It's, it has to be something that's detrimental to the price of the car, to making the worth of the car.
Yeah, it's got to be a major engine, transmission. It's not covering your radio. The other little quirk in the lemon law is because it is backed by the dealer himself. And once some other dealer or some other repair shop touches the car for that problem, the original dealer is not responsible anymore. And I've seen dealers use that as a tactic. So, Genesee Valley's got a really good service department. You got a problem with the lemon law, bring it there. Well, yeah, once we touch it, the other dealer's off the hook. Okay. And I can't warranty something that, for a used car warranty that I didn't sell. I mean, it would be ridiculous. I mean, that's not the way that's the way the world works. If the dealer sold you something that was defective, it's his responsibility to fix it.
Absolutely.
So when you have a problem with a customer, when he has a problem with something on the car not working right, what is the strategy and tactics that a customer should have to get the maximum effect or benefit for himself? What do you think that is?
I think most service managers are people who come up through the ranks, and I think they should start there. They should start with the manager after it's been there once or twice, and they should start with the manager, offer him a ride with them, show him what goes on, because that's what happens a lot of times. the customer will come in and tell somebody, well, I talked to the salesman, I explained to him that it's got a rattle in the back only when I throw my jack back there. And, that information never gets to the right people. Service departments today, our service department, I was very proud of because everybody there was a senior master, which means they've went as far as they can go in their trade.
Oh, that's a very good point, Jerry. That's an excellent point, because that's something quantitatively that somebody can see with the dealer site, ASE and the Master Certified. Explain that, and how does the customer find out about that stuff?
Well, actually, we had it posted. It was posted in the service drive, and not all service departments have that. Some of them try to get away with it because it's an expensive proposition for the dealer. And if he has a rotation of technicians through his shop, it becomes worse. We didn't have that problem. We groomed them from the bottom up. A couple of the guys were there that worked at Vanderstein's for a lot of years. And they were all certified, and they were senior master, which means they've gone as far as they can go, and there's no place else for them to go. And I've very, very seldom had to fight backwards to get a car repaired. These guys knew who to get on the phone and talk with engineering, and they were all good at that. So that's a big deal. But when you look at it from the dealer aspect, it's an expense. It's a huge expense. Mm-hmm. You're sending the guy to school, and you're paying his lodging, you're paying his wages, you're paying for his school, and you're spending $2,000, $3,000, $4,000.
Right.
It's a long time to make that back.
Well, I think a lot of people don't understand too that the mechanic owns his tools, and that could be an exorbitant amount of money. Why don't you touch a little bit on that? What's the most you've ever seen some guy paying his tools?
Well, I can tell you that when I retired from Genesee Valley, the young man that I put in my place, who was there yet, I believe, he had probably $150,000 worth of tools and toolbox. And
I know,
as we went through that, when we were working together, I had approached you with a youngster who was a part-time oil technician who wanted to be a master. You reached into your pocket, and we not only sent him to school, so we only had him, I think, 3 half days a week for over 2 years. You reached in your pocket again for $20,000 to get him started with his own tools. I mean, that said something about what you believe.
That's nice here. But you see these kids that get degrees in Russian history, and it's all well and good. Sports marketing, all well and good, but you're not guaranteed a job when you graduate. If you go to a technical training school for automotive service, you have a marketable skill, and you have a marketable skill that you can take from place to place to place, especially like diesel mechanics. My God, they have to be as sharp an engineer as exists in the world. Yeah. Now, John, I have to tell you, we are just about out of time, and this is great. So this will be we're going to take portions of this and put in the book, and I hope this helps somebody. And Jerry, thanks for making us as successful as we were, and being a good friend and confidant. And people need to know right now, anytime I have a problem with my car, I call up Jerry. It'd be 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning and say, hey, Francesca's got a problem with the thing. What's a throttle body? I have no idea. And the light's on, and I'm taking and Jerry walks me through it like we're landing on the moon or something like that. My God, you have the patience of a saint. So thanks for being on the show, Jerry, and God bless you, and thank you for what you did, and I'll give you some credit for the book.
All right, Tom. Thank you for calling me, and you have a nice day.
Thanks for listening. Tune in every Saturday from 10 to 11 on News Radio Wham 1180. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll make more.